साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादां सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितां हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद
भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद
भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद
भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद
हरे कृष्णा
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Can anyone confirm me if I'm audible? Give me a thumbs up so I understand. That should enough. All right, welcome everyone for today's discussion. I'm kind of resuming from or starting from 10th chapter. Although I thought I'll reflect something on the 9th chapter, the last few verses. Maybe if time permits, we can take a look at some of those verses, do a quick recap of it, and then we'll start the 10th chapter. We have a syllabus to finish also, like that. Let's offer prayers together, and then we'll start our discussion. One second. All right, whatever. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Pashatai Dishatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gotuse Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Rama Hare Hare. We welcome you once again for today's discussion. Maybe we can just do a quick recap of previous verses from the 9th chapter, particularly from 26 verse onwards. We had some internet issues, etc., etc. So we were left with very less time to discuss on this. So I'll just make two points about it here, and we'll take it forward. So important thing to remember is how Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes about the connection between the verse number 25 or the previous set of verses with what begins in 26 verse. And Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes that now Lord Shri Krishna, to help us make the best choice, which means among the different options as was described in 25th verse, Yanti Deva Vrata Devan Pitrayanti Pitrvataha Bhutani Yanti Bhutechya Yanti Madhyajino Pimam. To help us make the right choice, Lord Shri Krishna begins to speak, verse number 26 onwards. What is the right choice? Yoginam Abhisarvesham Mad Katenandar Atmanam Shadhavan Bhajate Yomam Same Yuktatamo Mataha. So Bhakti Yogi is the best choice. Bhakti Yoga is the best choice. So here verses from 26 onward to verse number 34 is actually talking about how uh, Bhakti Yoga is the best. No comparison to it. And yoga, the path of connecting or union with the Lord, the very first thing Lord Shri Krishna mentions about it is it's very simple. Anyone can perform it. And that has been highlighted in the 26th verse. Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati. You don't read any material qualification. In fact, there is no dependency on material qualification. In fact, it does not depend on anything. It only depends on bhakti. We should have some bhakti. We should have some desire to please the Lord. That is what bhakti is all about. Yome bhaktya parayachati. If it is offered with that intention, with that purpose, bhakti upaharatam, upahar, ashnami prayatatmana. I will accept that. That's what Krishna says. However, the quality required, it's simple, but it's not that simple also. Why? Because as such, Krishna does not depend, does not ask for anything, but he definitely asks for bhakti. Now, to cultivate that bhakti is not easy. So then Arjuna thought, my dear Lord, what if I don't have that level of pure devotion? What do I do? What options do we have? And then Lord Shri Krishna says, all right, you can perform Nishkam Karma Yoga. Text number 27. I'm not sure if we had this discussion on this point, but I feel it's a very important point. I believe last time we a little bit focused on Apiche Suduracharo. Let me just open a forum for discussion here regarding this particular verse 26. Yome Bhaktya Prachati. How many of you would acknowledge, or how many of you would say Bhakti is easy? If I have to ask you that way, what would be your thought process? Because if you see the transition of verses from 26 to 27, 26 is discussions about Bhakti, and then 27 is lesser than Bhakti. It's Nishkam Karma Yoga. Then why would Krishna? So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says, Krishna said that verse is to make a point where Arjuna had a doubt. My dear Lord, what if I don't have Bhakti? If there is no hope for me? Krishna says, all right, you perform Nishkam Karma Yoga. So what does Bhakti means to you? What do you understand by word Bhakti? What is Krishna saying? Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. All this, if you see, is provided by nature in abundance. It's an unfortunate thing that in today's environment, these things are charged. Water is charged, there's a water tax, etc., etc. But these are available in abundance in nature, isn't it? Then why is it difficult? What is bhakti according to you? Any thoughts here? Because what is missing is bhakti. If we have that bhakti, then that's perfection. The Patram Pushpam Phalam, Krishna is so pleased. Krishna is pleased. Bhakti is all about pleasing Krishna. Any quick thoughts on it? Why Krishna is making this transition, coming from bhakti to a stage of Nishkam Karma Yoga? All right, we have some hands up. Anadi and Shuman Prabhu, let's hear from you first here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanad Pram. So, Prabhuji, yeah. So the pre-qualification for the 9.26 is that one offers it with love and devotion to Krishna, and so it inherently means that there should be an innate desire to work for the pleasure of Krishna. So and that is what seems to me to be bhakti. Now, if I am not able to have that desire to please Krishna, then I can at least whatever I do offer to Krishna. Or
correct.
Next one.
That is how a Bhakti Shastri teacher will explain. That is what you're doing a good job. So telling the flow of discussion about 26 to 27. But I'm asking you a different question here. What is Bhakti? That's my question. I'm not asking you the flow of verses from 26 to 27, which you did it very right. What is Bhakti?
So doing everything for the pleasure of Krishna.
Okay, for the pleasure of Krishna. Anya abhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavratam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. Right? So, for the pleasure of Krishna. So, is that difficult or easy?
So,
that's
to develop that
all about. That's what my question is all about. Now, is that easy or is that now? How do you please Krishna? Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. You just offer leaf, fruits, water. I'm happy. So, is it difficult to please Krishna? Yes or no?
But to become Anyabhilashita Shunyam is difficult.
Yeah, Anya Lavishasana, fine. I mean, Anukulena Krishna Anu. That is what is happening right now. Anya Bilashita, agreed. That takes time, no doubt about it. But my question again is, Prabhupada said, and this is what I had elaborated on this verse for another forum. Prabhupada said, Bhakti is so simple that we'll simply miss it out. And that's where it becomes the tricky part. There is something inherent part of it which we often miss it out. Okay, let's Mother Harini, right? I'm sorry, I'm seeing your Tilok name, so I'm getting confused on the name. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes,
So
Mother.
bhakti is to please Krishna without any desire. Right?
Okay, that's
so
definition which is good. My question is, how do you please Krishna now? Can you please Krishna? Yes or no?
Yes.
How?
For what we need to surrender fully to Krishna in order to please Krishna.
But how do you know you have surrendered to Krishna? Fully, partially?
It depends on our activities, what we are doing. If all our activities like are Krishna conscious, like that.
But who
also
decides?
Krishna
Can you go and ask Krishna, Krishna, am I pleasing you? Krishna, is my activities favorable to you? And would Krishna answer to you, yes or no?
if Krishna is pleased, he will bestow his mercy.
All right.
By having his mercy, like when he's going to put us into difficulty, then he knows Krishna is pleased.
Okay, good answer, Mother. Thank you. As here, okay. Sanaka Rishi Prabhu, go ahead. Shashwat Prabhu, I'm coming next to you. Yeah, I just saw ahead. Okay, yes, go ahead. Sanaka Rishi Prabhu. Sanatana Rishi Prabhu, yes. Can I unmute?
No.
Yeah, unmute, go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Likewise.
Prabhuji, what I feel is, and what I've seen is to please Krishna directly. Bhakti is way of life where you meet with different devotees and you cooperate with them, you live with them. So, and you come across devotees who guide you, you open your heart to them. So when you please these devotees of Krishna, then you please Krishna. Because these are the devotees who take you to Krishna, actually.
Wonderful. Shashwat Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Yes.
So, Prabhu, in process of bhakti, we have to serve Krishna and offer him fruits, flower, water with love and devotion. So, for practicing devotee, this element of love and devotion is not as it should be. That's why it's making it difficult, the process of bhakti.
Okay. All right. So how do you get that love? That's my question here.
By continuing to serve him.
But you're not serving Krishna. I don't know who says you're serving him. Who is serving here Krishna? This is a big philosophical mistake. Are you serving Krishna? Shashwat Prabhu, tell me one service that you're doing for Krishna.
Well, I
one
do
service.
By chanting his holy name.
Did Krishna told you that you chant for me?
No, Guru has said.
So who you are serving?
Guru.
So where are you serving Krishna?
By serving Guru.
No, I mean, come on, I mean, yeah, Bhakti Shastri, isn't it? Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasadan nagati kutopi dhyayansuvam tasya yasya stri sandhyam vande guru shri charanavindam. What does it say? When you please Yasya Prasadat, by the mercy of Guru, or when you please Guru, then Krishna is pleased. Yasya Prasada. If the Guru is not pleased, Krishna is not pleased. Yes, you all have heard of this. We in fact recite probably. Ohe Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagara Ida se Karuna Kori. I mean, I would love to have one direct reference which says we are directly serving Krishna. Who have taught us to serve Krishna? We have received everything by the mercy of Guru and Vaishnava. They have instructed us how to serve Krishna. When you offer bhoga to the Lord, you don't offer bhoga to the Lord. you offer to your Guru. Guru offers to his Guru, and that offers to that Guru. And through that Guru Parampara, the food is offered, Bhoga is offered to Krishna. Am I correct? Is that a correct understanding, or am I off? We don't offer to Krishna, we offer to Guru. Guru offers it. But the process looks like you're offering to Krishna because ultimately you're serving Krishna under the direction of Guru. So now, with that as a clue, let's come back to my question again. What is bhakti all about? Venuvadan Prabhu. Unmute. Yes.
Okay, Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandot Pranam.
Yes.
Prabhu, actually, whether bhakti is easy or not, first that is the question. So this is the one, bhakti is easy, at the same time it is very, very difficult. So in the Treta Yuga, people are that all circumstances, everything is favor to the bhakti, even though they are doing thousands of years for the getting the perfection. In the Kali Yuga, it is very, very difficult. That situation is not there. So God is very, very mercy. He is coming in the form of potency of name. So we are taking the name. So if you are comparing to the Kali Yuga and Treta Yuga, just simply if you are taking the name of the Lord, and you will be getting that connection. This is actually, it is only starting. So Pashpam Phalam Troyam, that whatever it is there we are offering, that is the beginning. Suppose if you are giving that one towards that one, that will start, and accordingly you will get the perfection in due course. Maybe so many births after so many births. So even Vedas also it is telling that whatever Karma Yoga and other things, whatever it is telling, is only connecting to the Lord. Once you are coming to this platform, then you will get that taste. Then you will come to the path of the devotion.
Thank
so that
you.
is my understanding.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, Vekunpati Prabhu, Haribol.
Haribol.
Please give the conclusion now.
Yeah, see, bhakti is easy if you are convinced of Krishna, his supremacy, etc., and you take a liking for doing devotional service for them. Bhakti is very difficult for anyone to perform. So, how does this liking comes? It is a very simple thing, The liking comes only by simply hearing about Krishna. Just like we take a liking for so many people, right? Without seeing them. For example, let me give the example of Modi. Modi is a very big popular figure in India. Everybody likes Modi. Has anyone seen Modi from close quarters? Or has anyone seen what is, how he is, etc.? We do not know. We have been only hearing about what he has been doing, that, this and that. And we have taken a liking for him. And whenever there is an election, everybody goes under the chappa for him. That's what is happening. Sorry to bring this political figure into this, but that is some easily understandable example. So this is what we do. So similarly, keep on hearing about Krishna. Let's take the example of Rukmani. Of course, to compare with Rukmani, it could be very difficult for us because Rukmani is, we are not able to see. We have never seen Rukmani, but at least Modi we are seeing on the TV and other places in the newspaper. But so Rukmani, how did she develop this liking for Krishna? She had developed so much of liking that she wanted to marry Krishna and nobody else. Only by hearing about Krishna. Narada Muni was coming and talking about Krishna. Her father was talking about Krishna. All these things made her really feel that I should marry only Krishna. Like that, if we keep hearing about Krishna, regular hearing, Shravanam comes, then what happens is we also develop a liking for Krishna, and then wanting to do devotional service for Krishna, all those things will come. This is my humble
correct,
Prabhu, subject to all corrections.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. All right, I'll put forward some points. Everyone said very nicely, correct. Vekunpati Prabhu brought out wonderful points here. Okay, let's look at this perspective. Well, just now what Vekunpati Prabhu said, hearing, chanting leads to remembrance and all that, correct. Let's consider a scenario. In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is going to say, Arjuna, Nimitta Matram Bhava Savisachi. Become an instrument of my grace. where Krishna wants Arjuna to fight, isn't it? And if Arjuna finds, that would please Krishna. Now, what will please Krishna is if Arjuna does what Krishna wants. Now, in our case, we know few things to do, which are like set things: chanting of holy names, following four-legged principles, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, honoring Krishna Prasadam. All right, but our life is not only all about this. We are not Parahamsa Baba, where we're just chanting and reading and hearing whole day. We have many other activities to perform. We still have Karmatmaka Buddhi. And one responsibility of a spiritual master is to engage that in the service of the Lord. Now, question comes: how do we know what Krishna wants through us? Yes? How do we know what Krishna wants through us? This we will take a look at detail when we discuss the 11th chapter, those few verses, 45th, 46th verse, if I'm correct. And Srila Prabhupada writes, the devotee's plans, there he's speaking about Guru, is as good as Krishna. Which means when we follow the plan of the devotee, then we follow the plan of Krishna. We follow the plan of Guru, we follow the plan of Krishna. So pleasing Krishna means serving Guru Vaishnavas and then Krishna. Now, to serve Guru or serve Vaishnavas, it requires loyalty. If we do not have loyalty, then what happens? We change masters very easily. At our conditioned state, we often are into the mindset of hearing what we like to hear, not what we are supposed to hear. How many of you agree with this? If we get a correction, we get put off. How many of you experience at times we are afraid of approaching our senior because we are afraid that the senior might ask us or our authority might give us a service which I'm not yet ready to do it. And we keep a backseat about it. Yes? Relate to it? How many of you? We all have that thing. And so there are many factors that come into it. So His Honor is Gaur Govind Maharaj and many senior Prabhupada disciples, Prabhupada in his purpose particularly, he actually highlighted the need of having a loyalty. So recently I had a discussion with His Honor Halda Swami Maharaj, and he made a very important, profound point, and that got me into thinking. He said, sir, pleasing Krishna comes through Guru only, which means you have to foremost please Guru. So how do you please Guru? There are three things required: service, surrender, and SSP, and the prayerful mood, if I'm correct, right? Service, surrender, and prayerful mood, like that. So I said, what is the difference between service and surrender? If there is a service, which means there is surrender. If there is surrender, you will naturally do service. He said, no, there's a difference. He said, you may do service, but there may not necessarily be a surrender. You may do service as an obligation. I have to do it because, I'm subordinate. I have to do it because I'm living in the temple. I have to do it because I've taken a vow to follow so-and-so person. But there is not necessarily a surrender, which could actually become a disservice. And he gave an example. He said, see how our loyalty varies because there is no surrender. Our service attitude would not be appropriate. And he said, you want to see how is your loyalty to your spiritual master? He said, a devotee or disciple who is loyal, he would know what his spiritual master wants and he has full confidence on him. Whereas who does not have confidence, at the heart of heart, this person will keep on doing window shopping still. Maybe you know what? This devotee knows better. Maybe this guru knows something else. Maybe this person knows else. Therefore, when it is time for us to take guidance, it becomes very difficult for us to say, I have one person, I can go and ask him, and whatever he says, I'll do it. Therefore, devotees move from one person to another person to third person, depending on what level of maturity we are. And, if we are at the beginning stages of maturity or we are, whatever, we are young, then often we like to say, yes, this authority is the best because he's agreed to what I wanted to do it. So actually, who are you serving? We are serving our mind because our mind wanted a certain way, certain things to happen. And now because the devotee has given a suggestion which my mind wanted to hear, I live my life. So that's how bhakti becomes difficult. Am I making some sense here? Because of not having loyalty. In other words, bhakti becomes easy. For example, for Prabhupada disciples, bhakti became very easy because there was only Prabhupada. They didn't have to hear from anyone else. If you meet Prabhupada disciples, they were just like whatever Prabhupada did. All of you would have met Prabhupada, isn't it? Vaikuntapati Prabhu is doing direct service to Prabhupada through his initiative. They are soaked with Prabhupada consciousness. They're completely soaked. They are just living and breathing Prabhupada. There's so much living through the instructions of Prabhupada. Whatever Prabhupada said like this, Prabhupada said like this is how they always talk about it. In our case, we need to have somebody, one person who we say, that's it. And that is how by serving that person, then it becomes Yasya Prasadat, Bhagavad Prasadat. Now, when it comes to spiritual master, you can hear some lectures of His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj, and the subject matter about Guru is, he speaks very profoundly. I'm not going to get into the subject matter. I'll keep it pretty short over here. When it comes to, let's say, our Diksha Guru in our today's context and environment, because of a lack of interaction with a spiritual master, because of the situations of having many disciples as our environment is around our international preaching mission, we often function under sub-authority. So when we are functioning under sub-authority, then this principle of pleasing the authority becomes the foremost. Because some relationship we have to execute this now, where we stop listening to our mind and start following. So we have started following chanting, we have started following four regular principles, we have started doing something, but there's still many things. How many of you agree? We still do it what we want to do it. It becomes very difficult, very difficult, very difficult. So that's a point about it. So why bhakti becomes difficult? Because bhakti is all about surrender, Sharanagati. So we should have one relationship where we can say, we can have Shiksha Guru, means we can have many Shiksha Guru, but at least should be one Guru. Okay, this is what is for me. I know this person only wishes well for me. He understands or she understands, this is what best for me, I should do it. Even if in case we are not able to do it, at least we are able to express and say, Prabhu, I'm so sorry, give me some time. But at least there should be one candid relationship, not that we are changing relationships. That is where it becomes tricky. This is what I've heard from my seniors. This is what I recently had an interaction with Halda Swami Maharaj. I don't know, am I making some sense here? Or did I really confuse you all? Vaikuntapati Prabhu, you want to add something to it? Unmute.
Yeah, Prabhu, one or two questions on what you said now. You said because of the system what we have got now, because of that, there is this sub-authority system. What you said, gurus have got the sub-authority.
I mean, sub-authority, you can call it Shiksha Guru. You can call it Shiksha Guru, like whatever, yeah.
But yeah, again, this Shiksha Guru is not our choice, is it not? The Shiksha Guru is also, we have to accept a Shiksha Guru only with the permission of...
Correct.
That's number one point. Number two, now many of the gurus, because a large number of disciples, they also have got this system of, appointing counselors or subheads, through whom you try to understand many things. But then those subheads or counselors are only supposed to repeat what the guru says. Even if it's a new question and even if you know the answer, still you're supposed to answer, you have to pass on that question to the Guru. The Guru will give that answer, and only the answered questions you can pass it on to others. Now the question is, selecting this sub-guru for the junior devotees, disciples, selecting the sub-guru or selecting the counselor, is it their choice or is it again decided by?
So two things, how it happens. Back in 80s, I know of when things were still growing up, devotees can write to the spiritual master and spiritual master say, yes, you can take Shiksha from such and such person. But now because we have grown in length and breadth, now we are running through systems. Less with personal interactions, but more with systems. And what can we do? We have, preaching mission. So in systems are defined. Let's say you are part of this temple. The temple president becomes an authority by default, and you're supposed to align to work with him. If the temple is small, if temple is big like Pune, then you have counselors. Counselor is supposed to take care of your emotional needs, your spiritual needs, everything. Reconcile between the managerial authority and spiritual authority. The discussion goes on there. But the whole purpose of all this thing is to align each and every one of us to Srila Prabhupada's goals and missions. Which means to give us, to help us give up our independent mentality. Which means to increase our subordination or surrender. The whole idea is we need to start saying, I want to serve you for the pleasure of yours. Not that I want to live for my pleasure. For that, this system have been defined like that. Now, one could be this way, other could be other way, could be looking at this system function for those who are moving around. So they accept whichever temple authority. Other system could be where they have raised in a particular community. When they have raised in a particular community, then it's very natural for them. There's a particular leader with whom they have been raised and they're taking care. And through that leader only they get connected to their spiritual master, or their commendation goes like that. And it's a very natural progression. Point still holds true that we should have loyalty towards some relationship. Best is that who have raised you, who have cared for you. Maybe if you're not in the same town, if the person is still able to care for you online, at least you should have loyalty to that person. If for some reason it's not happening, then you know, let's say you subordinate yourself to wherever you locally are, but it becomes challenging when you move around. It's not that easy. As a congregation would have that experience, becomes very difficult when you move around. So, but this is the principle. And all authorities are supposed to align us with the mood of our spiritual master. So how we can do that? Wherever situation we are, we should regularly hear from our spiritual authority. Let's say we have taken a diksha, we should regularly. Sometimes some devotees ask, what should we do at this stage? I'm 20 years, 25 years. I said, okay, you should now hear more of your spiritual master and hear 1 or 2 lectures of Srila Prabhupada. You know, that's the mix you should have. And then whatever learning you are happening, have that. Our attraction and attachment to our guru has to increase. And to the degree it happens, to that degree our surrender will manifest. And that's how bhakti becomes palatable. Otherwise, bhakti is like something for your pleasure, something for my pleasure. Let's negotiate, let's work it out. It goes like this, yes or no? All right. So, fine. So this was a point I guess we hadn't discussed last time, and I'm not going to take time on other subject matter, which we had already discussed. 27, if you can't do that, at least do Nishkam Karma Yoga, which means at least you try to serve Krishna in some capacities. The result is you'll get moksha, you'll get liberation if you do so. 29, are you partial? Partial, I'm not partial. 29 to 31, Krishna speaks, I'm not partial, but what to do? Those who love me, I naturally get attracted to them. So we had spent good enough time last time about verse number 30, Apiche Sudurachara, how to see that, how to behave, how not to do name calling, name shaming, etc. And finally, the essence of all essences, man mana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskaru. I saw some hands were there. We'll take those questions. Let me just start the 10th chapter now. I'll come back to it again. So with that as a little introduction, let me just start the 10th chapter and take up some discussion here now. So I hope my screen is visible. What is visible or not? Let me see. Yeah, it's visible probably, right? Is visible, correct. So 9th chapter ends with man mana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskaru mam eveshasi yuktvevam atmanamat parayana. Become my pure devotee. When Krishna said like this, Arjuna began to ponder. Man mana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskaru. That's what Krishna is saying. So Arjuna thought, my dear Lord, how to fix one's mind on Krishna, on you. And with that as a background, Krishna began to speak chapter 10, titled as Vibhuti Yoga. So what's the subject matter of this chapter? 2 things with this chapter highlights. One is Krishna is the source of this whole creation. And second, how we can see Krishna within this creation, if we understand how he is the source of creation. These are the 2 main subject matter which are discussed, and of course there are some other subject matter which are highlighted through the discussion like that. So the essence is Krishna speaks this chapter in such a way so that it helps a spiritualist or a devotee to remember Krishna at all time and all place, all circumstances. So today we intend to discuss from verse number 1 to verse number 18 like this. The acronym for this chapter is CSEE, S for source of everything, E essence of Gita, and the last E for everywhere. So let's begin with source of everything. I guess that's it for presentation. We can take a discussion from the book only. Let's take a look at the first verse of 10th chapter. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Bhuya Eva Mahabhau Shruno me paramam vacha yatte aham priyamanaya vakshyami hit kamyaya. Fantastic shlok, fantastic shlok. And Srila Vishnu Chakra Thakur goes in ecstasy while giving a commentary to it. So let's read out. I'll give you a little Sanskrit or verse analysis while a little bit describing what Vishnu Chakra Thakur's commentary. Let's read out the translation purport. I can read the translation. Somebody can read out the purport. You can give me the table. You keep on that. Translation. The Supreme Personality Godhead said, listen again, O mighty Arjuna. Because you are my dear friend, for your benefit, I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained. Just one quick thing which is ringing in my head. I thought I'll just let you know before we get into this discussion. Why loyalty? I kind of really brushed into that because I was getting late, but just want to make one point. Why loyalty is so essential, so important? Without loyalty, we will not be really able to serve. Our service will be very mixed. And how do we build our loyalty? When we hear from that person. I remember some of the disciples of His Holiness Bhakti Tirth Swami Maharaj when I was in America, they would often quote this. And I really, really liked that. It was really, really beneficial for me. This is Bhakti Tirth Swami Maharaj used to often say. He said, if you love your spiritual master, whenever you would do anything, you will think how my action would affect my spiritual master. Would it be pleasing or displeasing to him? And I felt, wow, that's profound, huh? You do anything, before you're doing anything, you think about, would it be pleasing to my guru or not? Now let's take a situation. Let's say you got into a conflict with the Vaishnava. And apparently you are right, he or she is wrong. Now, what would be our first response in this situation? Is either to criticize that Vaishnava or maybe chastise that Vaishnava, right? These are 2-3 possibilities. Now, if in case we have that thought process, then, would my spiritual master be pleased or displeased? Now, if we have the thought process, there's a lot of chances we will refrain ourselves from reacting in such a way that it creates another offenses. Yes or no? We'll step back. No, I should not do it because it will displease my spiritual master. But how do we get the consciousness of pleasing or displeasing? It can only happen when we regularly hear from a spiritual master. Again, spiritual master, I'm not only indicating to Diksha Guru. It could be a Shiksha Guru also. If, as per His Holiness Madan Sundar Maharaj, as he described the concept of Guru, is entirely different as we often understand. Whoever we are trying to serve, we should regularly hear from that person. And then if that thought process comes, it takes time. I'm also struggling with it, frankly speaking. But as the thought process comes, it can only happen when we regularly hear from that one person as a major source of our shastric education or hearing. And then when we move forward, then his thoughts will become more and more evident. That is what by loyalty means. Not that, okay, I'll hear from this person, I'll hear from that person. Traditionally, that was never the culture. Culture was you go and be in the ashram of Guru, hear from Guru. It was now like, for example, even if you take Shyamananda, Narottam Das Thakur, they all were sent by their respective gurus to go and hear from Jiva Goswami. And they heard it under the tutelage, or they were trained under the tutelage of Jiva Goswami. Like, because of today's age of internet, YouTube and everything, we hear from many persons. Why I'm saying that, just maybe I can tell all of you this, because we are facing another big challenge these days is many devotees are leaving ISKCON. And devotees leave ISKCON and join other forums. If any one of you are from Vrindavan or know of that, that's a very unfortunate situation. Grastas are okay. I know some senior brahmacharis have moved. It used to happen before. This is very bizarre. And the one reason is because I found somebody who is more self-effulgent, self-realized, despite Guru is in a perfect situation and standing, doing tremendous service. No, I find myself more attracted to this person. Why? Because somewhere, somehow, we have lost faith. So this kind of things, unfortunately, happen. So therefore, it is emphasized we should hear, at least have one relationship, one loyalty. So let's come back to this verse, 10th chapter, 10.1. Translation, purport. Mother Vasana Kishori Mataji, or Mother Vasana Kishori, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, then pranams, Prabhu.
Yes, go ahead, please.
The word Bhagavan is explained thus by Parasara Muni one of who is full in six opulences, who has full strength, full fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, renunciation is Bhagwan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. While Krishna was present on this earth, he displayed all six opulences.
So, all right, we can skip the first paragraph. First paragraph, Prabhupada is talking about the word Bhagwan, which we have discussed in the second chapter also. Go to the second paragraph. Prabhupada talks about Shranu. As Krishna says, hear from me again. Prabhupada talks about it. Read the second paragraph, Mother.
The more one hear about the Supreme God, the more one becomes fixed in the devotional service. One should always hear about the Lord in the association of devotees. That will enhance one's devotional service. This discourse in the society of devotees can take place only amongst those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. Others cannot take part in such discourses. The Lord clearly tells Arjuna that because Arjuna is very dear to him, for his benefit, such discourses are taking place.
Thank you. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, just to share some points from his commentary, he raises a point why Vibhuti Yoga. Vibhuti is, opulence, powers of the Lord. Why Krishna is speaking about this after speaking Man Mana Bhava Mad Bhakta Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. 7th chapter also we saw some of the Vibhuti. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes, by knowing the powers of the Lord, one can understand that the Lord is worthy of worship. Now he says these powers have been described in the 7th chapter also. Now here in this 10th chapter, Lord will explain the powers in detail for the pleasure of those who have devotion. Like this. Therefore Krishna says, the word bhuya. This word starts, if you take a look at Sanskrit, the word starts at bhuya eva mahabhao. So bhuya means again, here again. Which means again I'll speak about the king of knowledge, the king of secrets. I'm reading, let me just read out a paragraph from Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. He says, O mighty armed one, you display your supreme power of your arms. Krishna speaking to Arjuna. This power which I'm about to tell you is greater than that all others. In the same way, you should display the supreme power of your intelligence in this topic. Listen to the words I speak. This implies that Arjuna should limit his attention to what is spoken, though he is already listening. And then Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur concludes, these words are even superior to what I have spoken previously, because he says, Krishna says, Shrunu me paramam vachaha. I speak this verse to you in order to cause you astonishment. And what would be the result of causing astonishment? Then Krishna says, Yatte aham priyamanaya. The third line of the verse, Krishna says, the reason for speaking to you is that I'll speak to you because you're filled with prema, priyamanaya. Like that. So like that, Srila Vishnu Thakur talks about it. Now comes the second verse. And one second, this, presentation. So what is the process of understanding or knowing the Creator? That is what begins the discussion from second verse onwards, second and third. So Krishna says something very interesting. Let's take a look. In the second verse, Krishna says, Name vidhu surgana prabhavam namahashya aham adirhi devanam mahashinam cha sarvashaha. Neither the hosts of demigods. So Arjuna thought, okay, demigods may not be, because at times demigods are absorbed in material activities, mundane affairs. But sages can understand. Krishna said, no. Name vidu surgana prabhavam na mahashya. Not even the best of the sages. Aham adirhi devanam. Arjuna was perplexed. Oh, really? The best of the sages also cannot understand you. What's the reason? Krishna says, Aham adirhi devanam. Because I am the source of all. Maharshinam cha sarvasha. Because I am the source for all. The son cannot understand the cause of father's birth. The source, like that. Like that, Krishna says that. Neither the host. So we can read the last two paragraphs of this purport, if anyone would like to. Ravi Shekhar Prabhu, your hand is up. Second verse, the second and the third paragraph. Please go ahead. Here the Lord indirectly says.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah. Here the Lord indirectly says that if anyone wants to know the absolute truth, here I am present as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am the Supreme. One should know this, although one cannot understand the inconceivable Lord who is personally present. He nonetheless exists. We can actually understand Krishna, who is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, simply by studying his words in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. The conception of God as some ruling power or as the impersonal Brahman can be reached by persons who are in the inferior energy of the Lord. But the personality of Godhead cannot be conceived unless one is in the transcendental position. Because most men cannot understand Krishna in his actual situation, out of his causeless mercy, he descends to show favor to such speculators. Yet, despite the Supreme Lord's uncommon activities, these speculators, due to contamination in the material energy, still think that the impersonal Brahman is the Supreme. Only the devotees who are fully surrendered unto the Supreme Lord can understand by the grace of the Supreme Personality that he is Krishna. The devotees of Lord do not bother about the impersonal Brahman conception of God. Their faith and devotions bring them to surrender immediately unto the Supreme Lord. And out of the causeless mercy of Krishna, they can understand Krishna. No one else can understand him. So even great sages agree. What is Atma? What is the Supreme? It is he whom we have to worship. Hare Krishna.
So what is the key point here when Krishna is speaking that? We cannot understand Krishna even if we are as great as Devatas or the sages. Devatas, materially highly qualified, sages, the purest. We cannot, and these all are still material qualifications. We can understand Krishna only by his mercy. Only by his grace, Krishna can be understood, not by anything. And here only this particular concept will get elaborated in the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita also. We'll discuss about that time. So now Arjuna pondered, my dear Lord, what will be the result of knowing you, as you are the cause of all causes? Text number 3 and text number 7 addresses that. Let's take a look at text number 3. Krishna says, Yo mamajam anadim cha Veti loka maheshwaram asammudaha samartyeshu sarvapape pramuchyate. You're delivered from all sinful reactions. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the worlds, he only undiluted among men is freed from all the sins. Like that. Veti Loka Maha Ishwaram is a big purport. We can just focus on some of the points. I'll just read out the highlighted points from the purport. In the first paragraph, let's read the first paragraph. So as stated in the 7th chapter, Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kashit Yatati Siddhai. Those who are trying to elevate themselves to platform of specialization are not ordinary men. They are superior to millions and millions. But out of those actually trying to understand the spiritual situation, one who can come to the understanding that Krishna is a supreme personality, a Godhead, is the most successfully spiritually realized person. In that stage only, when one has fully understood Krishna's supreme position, can one be free completely from all sinful reactions. When one has understood. Here the Lord is described by the word Aja, meaning unborn, but is distinct from different living entities. We have discussed this about in the 4th chapter about Aja also. Next paragraph, in this verse, the words Veti Loka Maheshwaram, which means Krishna is a supreme personality, the proprietor of all the universal planetary systems, like that is mentioned. So here Prabhupada goes into the purport highlighting how Krishna is the source of all. And the benefit is those who understand that, they become freed from all the sinful reaction. And now the theme begins, how source is the cause of everything. Now in the text number 405, source, Krishna is also the source of various qualities. It is seen in two ways. One is, in the 3rd verse, it is mentioned that how one who understands Krishna as he is, he gets freed from all the sinful reactions. And then one way of looking at the 4th and 5th verses, Similar, the one who knows Krishna as he is, understand the position of Krishna, he also acquired all the divine qualities which are discussed in the 4th and 5th verse. One way of looking at that is that, other way is Krishna is the source of all these qualities. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes, Krishna speaks about these qualities beginning with buddhi, saying that, you cannot understand. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur has a theme here saying that, Krishna is talking about these qualities and everything to tell you, whatever you are, whoever you are, even you are the most intelligent person, you still cannot understand me without my mercy. And Srila Prabhupada takes a theme how Krishna is the source of everything. These are the two themes which are going on here. Let's take a look at the verse 4 and 5. This is a big, big puppet. I mean, Prabhupada goes in and takes his time spending about each of this quality. I'll give you a snapshot of it by reading about Baldev Vidyabhushan commentary of, one line answer. You can take your leisure to read this whole puppet. Text number 4 and 5. Buddha jnanam sammoha shama satyam damaha shamaha sukham dukkham bhavo bhavo bhayam chabhyam evacha ahimsa samata tushtis tapadanam yasho yashaha bhavanti bhava bhutanam matai pratak vidaha. Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy. All these various qualities of living beings are created by me. That's how Srila Prabhupada talks about this particular verse. Taking a look at, so there's a big purport where Prabhupada goes in detail about each of these qualities. I'll give you a snapshot while just briefly speaking about what Baldev Vidyabhushan writes about this. He says, what is buddhi? Buddhi means the ability to make subtle distinctions. What is jnana? Jnana means to distinguish spiritual from material. What is asamoha? Asamoha means absence of duality or confusion. What is shama? Tolerance. Satyam means truth, is to speak for others' benefit, things as they really are. Dama means tolerating, sense control, means restraining the senses, such as the ear from useless sense objects, which means not engaging in activity which bewilders us. That is Dama. Shama means mind control, controlling the mind. Sukha. Sukha means regarding something as favorable. Dukha, Sukha, Dukha, favorable, unfavorable, like that. Bhava. Bhava means birth. Abhava means death. Bhaya means fear, which arises from regarding something as a future cause of suffering. That's what happens, right? Fear is always projected towards the future. Oh, this will become the cause of my suffering. That is about fear. Abhaya means the absence of fear. Ahimsa, not giving pain to other entities. Samata is being devoid of attraction and repulsion. Equanimity, Shamata. Tushti, satisfaction. Satisfaction in what? Not satisfaction after eating Krishna Prasadam. Satisfaction in attaining whatever comes according to one's karma. Tapa. Tapa is suffering of the body as prescribed in the Vedas. This will be discussed in 17th chapter. What is austerity for the body, mind and senses. Dana is charity. What is charity? Like for example, birthday gift. The idea of birthday gift is to gift what the other person likes, not to gift what is in abundance with you and what is useless for you. That is not called as dan or gift. Generally in temple, we stay in temple, so it often happens often. People will call up ki hum pe furniture hai, hum pe bike hai. Just a month ago, somebody had called up कि मेरे पे गाड़ी है, मैं आपको गाड़ी डोनेट करना चाहता हूँ. So I'm not into this service, so I don't know. But this devotee was telling me. He said, I asked him, what model it is, how old it is. Long story short, when I got all the details, I realized if we have to take this charity of car, we'll be spending more on the maintenance than purchasing a new car. Completely, we just totally gone, wanted to give it to the temple. So dan is not. What is dan? Dan is offering one's enjoyable items to a qualified person. Charity is discussed again in 17th chapter. Yasha. Yasha means fame, being known for good qualities. All such states of living entities with different qualities arise from me, from my will. I alone am their cause. Like that, Lord Shri Krishna speaks, I am the cause of all these qualities. Okay, we'll go back. It's a very important, brilliant purport, but it will take time. So I'm letting you all do the needful home study. Text number 6 is very interesting now. Now here Krishna gives the genealogical synopsis of the universe. And he says, Mahashaya saptapurve chatvaro manavastatha madbhava manasa jata yesham loka ima prajaha. The 7 great sages before the 4 other great sages and the Manus come from me, born from my mind, and all the living beings populating the various planets descend from them. I am the cause of all. That is what is going on. Puppet. Anyone would like to read Puppet? Mother Medini, your hand is up. Go ahead. Yes. Start reading.
The Lord is giving a genealogical synopsis of the universal population. Brahma is the original creature born out of the energy of the Supreme Lord, who is known as Hiranyagarbha. And from Brahma, all the 7 great sages, and before them, 4 other great sages named Sanaka, Sanada, Sananda, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumar, and the 14 Manus are manifested. All these 25 great sages are known as the patriarchs of the living entities all over the universe. There are innumerable universes and innumerable planets within each universe, and each planet is full of population of different varieties. All of them are born of these 25 patriarchs. Brahma underwent penance for 1000 years of the demigods before he realized by the grace of Krishna how to create. Then from Brahma came Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumar. Then Rudra, and then the 7 sages. And this way, all the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas are born out of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma is known as Pitamaha, the grandfather, and Krishna is known as Prapitamaha, and the father of the grandfather. That is stated in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna.
Text number 7. Very, very classy verse and an incredible purport. Beautiful purport. This particular verse describes the purpose of the 10th chapter. Why Krishna is speaking that? Krishna says, Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yoveti tatvataha sa vikalpena yogena yujyate natra samshaya. There is no doubt. Mama yoveti tatvata, knows me in truth. Krishna says, one who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service of there is no doubt. So why Krishna is speaking about all these things, the qualities come from me, the genealogical synopsis, etc. right now, and the things which are going to happen ahead is to help an individual get convinced of the greatness of the Lord. And the purport is even sweeter. Prabhupada says, many people say God is great, but nobody knows how God is great. 10th chapter teaches you the greatness of God. Mother Anjana, please read out. Fantastic purports.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
The highest summit of spiritual perfection is knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless one is firmly convinced of the different opulences of the Supreme Lord, he cannot engage in devotional service. Generally, people knew that God is great, but they do not know in detail how God is great. Here are the details. If one knows factually how God is great, then naturally he becomes a surrendered soul and engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord. When one factually knows the opulences of the Supreme, there is no alternative but to surrender to Him. This factual knowledge can be known from the description in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and similar literatures. In the administration of this universe, there are many demigods distributed throughout the planetary system, and the chief of them are Brahma, Lord Shiva, and four great Kumaras and other patriarchs. There are many forefathers of the population of the universe, and all of them are born of the Supreme Lord Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is the original forefather of all forefathers. There are some of the opulences of the Supreme Lord. When one is firmly convinced of them, he accepts Krishna with great faith and without any doubt, and he engages in devotional service. All this particular knowledge is required in order to increase one's interest in the loving devotional service of the Lord. One should not neglect to understand fully how great Krishna is, for by knowing the greatness of Krishna, one will be able to be fixed in sincere devotional service. Hare
One
Krishna.
should not neglect to understand fully how great Krishna is. And this theme of knowing the greatness of Krishna continues even up to the 11th chapter. So far we are having an audio presentation. 11th chapter will have a video presentation where Krishna actually shows his Virat Roop. Like that goes on. And now comes the 4 classic verses of this Bhagavad Gita, which are said to be Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually, not this, but from Srimad Bhagavatam, Chatushloki Bhagavatam was explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami. And there he established this concept of Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana. So Sambandh is to know what's our relationship with the Lord, who am I, who is Lord, that is Sambandh. So the 8th verse establishes that Sambandh again. Abhidheya is what are my activities in that relationship. That is discussed in the 9th verse of this chapter. And Prayojana, the result, the conclusion, that is being described in the 10th and the 11th verse. So what we have discussed so far, that Krishna is the source of everything, first. Second, we can understand Krishna by his mercy, is what is being discussed in these 4 verses again. Let's take a look at 10.8. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. Aham I, sarvasya prabhavo, sarvasya of all, prabhavaha, source of all generation. Mata sarvam pravartate, everything manifests from me. Iti matva bhajante. Iti matva, knowing this, what you do? Bhajante mam. Such a person engages in my devotional service. Buddhi bhav samanvitaha. जो बुद्धिमान व्यक्ति होता है, bhav samanvitaha. Bhav means emotions also. Samanvita. So here Prabhupada translated that in attention. So an intelligent person who knows that I am the cause of everything engages into my devotional service with attention. So that is called as Sambandha Gyan. So this chapter, let's say the 7th chapter to 12th chapter, why it is said to be so important? Because these 6 chapters largely speaks about Krishna, which helps us establish our understanding about Krishna, which helps strengthen our Sambandha Gyan. It is only because of, just like I believe Vaikuntapati Prabhu was quoting the example of Rukmini, she heard about Krishna and she said, okay, I'm gonna marry Krishna only, nobody else like that. So it's about how I mean, of course, Rukmini, she is Nitya Siddha. But if we see from our perspective, how did she develop that Vaivasayatmika Buddhi, Eke Guru Nandana, that happened through hearing. Therefore, if you see from the 7th verse or 7th chapter onwards, Krishna is saying, Shunu, hear from me, hear from me, hear from me. There's a repetitive attention given to hearing. So therefore, as we hear or regularly we should hear, more often we should hear, to that degree our Sambandha Gyan gets strengthened. Prabhupada gave us a culture of every morning Bhagavatam and if possible every evening Bhagavad Gita class. But Prabhupada created the system so that our Sambandha Gyan becomes strong. So that is what is being highlighted here. Through the purport, Prabhupada gives various quotations from Narayana Upanishad, from Maha Upanishad, from Vara Puran, Moksha Dharma, whatnot, from Atharva Veda, etc., to establish how Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like that. We can read the last paragraph of this purport. Anyone who wants to read? Mother Kishori Rani, your hand is up. Please read the last paragraph of this 8th verse.
Prabhuji.
Lord Krishna is the source of all generations, and he is called the most efficient cause of everything. He says, because everything is born of me, I am the original source of all. Everything is under me, no one is above me. There is no supreme controller other than Krishna. One who understands Krishna in such a way, from a bona fide spiritual master with references from Vedic literature, engages all his energy in Krishna consciousness and becomes a truly learned man. In comparison to him, all others who do not know Krishna properly are but fools. Only a fool would consider Krishna to be an ordinary man. A Krishna conscious person should not be bewildered by fools. He should avoid all unauthorized commentaries and interpretations on Bhagavad Gita and proceed in Krishna consciousness with determination and firmness. Hare Krishna.
So it is explained how this Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, they actually give a roadmap of spirituality from beginning to end. So as we briefly discussed, verse 1 talks about Krishna's opulence, verse 2 talks about the activities. So now when Krishna says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo, so the question rises, Iti Matva Bhajante Ma, Buddha Bhava Samanvita, as Krishna says. So question rises in Arjuna's mind, so how does this devotee act or behave who know you are the Supreme Personality Godhead? Or what are their activities? That is being answered in the next verse. And the last two verses is Krishna's reciprocation with those devotees. That is Prayojana, like that. So let's take a look at the 9th verse. What are the activities of those who are engaged in Krishna's service? Machchitta matkata prana bodhayanta parasparam katyantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Parasparam is a very interesting word. Any thoughts about it? Or what Parasparam or where Parasparam has been used? I often use this word Parasparam while speaking of Bhagavad Gita. Any quick reflection where this word Parasparam comes? Parasparam means, there is a mutual dependence or doing things together, like that. So prior to this, Krishna used the word Parasparam in the 3rd chapter when he talks about how he established Yajna. And if you go in 3rd chapter, I believe it should be verse number 12 or 3rd chapter. There Krishna said, I created the system of Yajna, sacrifices, so that the Devatas and living entities can stay together happily. Actually, it is 11th verse. Deva bhavitanena te deva bhavayantu va parasparam bhavayantaha shreya param avapsyatha. The demigod being pleased by sacrifice will also please you, and thus by cooperation between men. So parasparam, mutually, doing together. So now in this verse, Machchitta Madgata Prana. What does a devotee do? He sits in a corner, takes out his bead bag, and he chants Hare Krishna Mahamantra all day, all long. No, Krishna says Parasparam. What is the Yajna for Kali Yuga? Kirtan, chanting. What would you say? What is the Yajna for Kali Yuga? Sankirtan. Are you sure? Not Kirtan, not chanting? What is the difference between Sankirtan and Kirtan? Okay, anyone just raise your hand or unmute yourself. You all are smiling.
Congregational chanting.
Congregational chanting.
Congregational chanting.
Isn't it Parasparam coming together? Yes or no? So here is Krishna saying, what does devotee do? He goes in the corner, sit aloof, reads his book, chants his noun, and stays happy, comes back home, back to Godhead. Hari Bol. No, Krishna is not saying that. Machchitta madgata prana bodhayantaha parasparam katyantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. I can extend this idea to many things, but I'll quote some things which should help you understand why certain leader emphasizes. For example, there's one particular, you can say peculiar quality or nature or what, of his Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. When devotee, he generally meets with all aspiring disciples. And he has one question to ask, which he always asks to everyone. He will ask either to them or the temple leader. Do you come to temple every Sunday or no? He would ask a standard question. And if in case somebody says, Maharaj, I'm not able to come, this and that, Maharaj said, okay, hold on. When you're able to come, then we'll think about your initiation. So he makes sure that every devotee, at least once in a week, they come together and they perform devotional service together. Why? See, this is Krishna is saying. Somebody can say, well, I am with my family, parasparam, me and my wife and my kids. We are having much chitta madgata prana, we are having a sadhu sangha. No, not like that. So, coming together with the larger community. When temple holds Bhagavatam classes, we should go and be part of it. Earlier, the case was different, but these days, attendance in the Bhagavatam classes have become very less. Any experience? Anyone have noticed this? The live attendance in the class is very less. Why? Because people are hearing online. Not the local community. Someone from somewhere they are hearing. How many of you have that experience? But actually, that's not the culture. It's nowhere mentioned anywhere. You can, Sanjay Dhritarashtra was an exception that they could not be part of the war. So, उनको वो online facility provide करी गई थी. We are taking too much for granted now. In other words, we all have become Dhritarashtra watching online. We are not attending live. We are also not much different than Dhritarashtra. And if in case we are watching online, what happened to Dhritarashtra? He did not budge a lot. He did not change. So how much our online interaction will have, nothing change happens. I'm not criticizing any online programs because I'm also doing online. This is also online happening. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying it's good to come together. It's good to come together and perform devotional. And that's what my emphasis here, I'm not intending to say anything to anyone like that. So machitta madgata prana bodhiyanta parasparam katyantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha. What a fantastic verse. Okay, let's take a look at translation. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. See, at our stage, Hare Krishna. Okay, unmute. The admins can mute by accident. Somebody got unmuted. See, in our case, it's very important for us to come together in person because there is one taste from Katha and Kirtan. But the higher taste of prasadam cannot be neglected, That really gives us a lot of boost. There are so many people who joined only because of prasadam. I'll tell you one example. Is a devotee in Vrindavan. So I asked him once, I said, why did you join Brahmachari Ashram? What was the reason for Brahmachari Ashram? बोला मैं यहाँ पे संडे विश में आया करता था और देखा कि प्रसादम की लाइन बहुत बड़ी होती थी. And then I saw Brahmachari line. For Brahmachari prasadam serving, there was no line. So I thought that is a better ashram. And he joined Brahmachari ashram. Because there was no queue in the Brahmachari line. And he moved to Brahmachari line or ashram like that. Anyways, jokes apart. So that's the point which is mentioned here. And some very beautiful purport here. Let's read it out. We can. Oh, Mother Bhagavati Karuna. You want to read it? Go ahead. Your voice is very faint, Mother.
Pure devotees not heard. Hello.
Yes, audible now. Go ahead.
Yeah, pure devotees whose characteristics are mentioned here engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing him with other devotees. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself, and in the mature stage, they are actually situated in love of God. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection, which is exhibited by the Lord in his abode. Lord Chaitanya likens transcendental devotional service to the sowing of the seed in the heart of the living entity. There are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of the universe, and out of them, there are a few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get the chance to understand devotional service. This devotional service is just like a seed, and if it is sown in the heart of a living entity, and if he goes on hearing and chanting Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare.
that seed fructifies just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering. The spiritual plant of the devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and enters into the Brahmajyoti effulgence in the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky also, that plant grows more and more until it reaches the highest planet, which is called Goloka Vrindavan, the supreme planet of Krishna. Ultimately, the plant
Hare
takes
Krishna.
shelter under the lotus
Yeah,
feet of
so this
Krishna
is
and
how.
rests there. Shall I continue, Prabhuji?
Perfect. Okay, mother, this is okay. We'll move on to the next verse now. And in the next paragraph, Katyantas Chamam Nityam, Srila Prabhupada speaks about the glories of Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is filled with many nectarian stories, and devotees love reciting and narrating and discussing among them. So this was about the activities of the devotee. Now, how does the Lord reciprocate, or how does the Lord see such a devotee? How does the Lord feel? Kind of what happens. This is about devotee's action. But what about Lord? Text number 10, 11. Brilliant, brilliant verses. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam gyanamam piyantite. Tesham, unto them, satata yuktanam. Yuktanam is engaged, satatam is always. Bhajatam, rendering devotion service. How? Priti purvakam. With love. Who is engaged in rendering devotion service with love. Dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayatite. I give them the intelligence by which they can come back to me. What can it mean at the stage of sadhaka, rendering devotional service with love? Bhajatam priti purvakam. Any quick thoughts onto it? What could it mean at a stage of sadhaka, priti purvakam, with love? Rendering devotion service with love. Any quick thoughts on it? Yes, Mother Hindu, go ahead.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I think for sadhakas, initially we have to do it as a duty, and as we go on doing it as a duty, that preeti will come. We'll feel the love for devotional service.
Correct. I'm looking more specific. That's the quality of sadhana bhakti. We discuss in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Okay. Sincerity in following instruction. Yeah. Obedience. The obedience, because I have been told, so for the pleasure of my guru, I do it like that. Just like we take a vow for chanting 16 rounds, and we chant. And at times, maybe there are days when it becomes difficult, but because I have taken a vow, it's my promise to my guru. I chant my 16 rounds. I mean, of course, I'm not saying that, the drag should be considered, but I'm just saying, at least at the level of obligation or duty is a step below than love. There is a fear, there is desire, there is duty, and there is love. It's just a step below. At the sadhaka, anyways, that priti may not arise right now, but this is what it is, like that. So that's the point which is mentioned here. Let's take a look. Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga, Prabhupada writes in the purport in the 4th or 5th line. Buddhi Yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence. Yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries go back home, back to God, and takes fully to Krishna conscious devotion service, his action is called Buddhi Yoga. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. I'm reading the first paragraph, last few lines. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. We have discussed this, I believe, in the beginning of the chapter. About it. Guru Sadhu, you can say Guru Vaishnavas in Krishna, like that. Ultimate goal of progress and the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master important. One should know that the goal is Krishna. When the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. Then in the last paragraph, somebody would like to read the last paragraph? Prabhupada talks about it. Priti Purvakam, what it means. Mother Induratika, go ahead.
A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization. But if he is still not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to him.
His Holiness Badrinath Maharaj was making a point which is related to the last point. He should be sincere and devoted. And he was making a point that Srila Prabhupada was giving a Gayatri mantra, was teaching Gayatri to his great Jayananda Prabhu. And somehow Jayananda Prabhu just could not catch it. Prabhupada tried again and again and again. Jayananda Prabhu just could not, get that Gayatri mantra. And Prabhupada got a little frustrated and he said, you're totally useless. And Jayananda Prabhu was a little shocked. Oh, and everyone shocked, what happened? And then Prabhupada had a smile on his face. He said, but Jayananda Prabhu, you're so sincere, Krishna will accept your service nonetheless, even if you don't chat properly, like that. And text number 11, fantastic, was very beautiful verse. See, there are some verses, of assurances. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I can say that. Maybe one of you can do this exercise. It's a good exercise. And the exercise is find out verses in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna gives assurance of his protection. Like 9.22. And here in 10.10, 10.11, we should, okay, let me ask this. Would anyone like to do this exercise?
I can try.
Okay, Mother Radhika, Mother Krishnarani, they all have raised their hand. Others are also welcome. Kumareshan, Sundaram Prabhu. Okay, but when you do this exercise, don't say only up to 10th chapter, huh? Because we have covered that much syllabus. you have to do it from all the 80 chapters. Or okay, no problem. You can do up to the 12th chapter and then later on add into it. It'll be very nice. And we'll collect all those shlokas and then we can share on the group and then we can memorize those verses. At times we are in difficulty, we can recite those verses. Text number 11. Tesham evanukampatham aham agyanajam tamaha nashyami atma bhavastu jnana deepena bhasvata. If we go back to the second verse, what did Krishna say? Name vidur suragana prabhavam na maharshi ham adiri devana maharshinam cha sarvasha. Neither the devatas nor the best of the sages know me. So there we were making a point, Srila Prabhupada highlights that only by Krishna's mercy we can know. And we see in the 10th and the 11th verse, that's what is happening. What we need to do, we need to come and practice Krishna consciousness together and then wait for Krishna's mercy to descend. Tesham satayuktanam pritipurvakam, as you saw. And now in 11th verse, Krishna says, Tesham evanukampatham. Krishna himself saying, Anukampartham, Anukampa. Tesham, for them, those who engage like Machitta Madgata Prana, 9th verse, for them, Evam is certainly Anukampartha. Special mercy is given to them. Who gives? Aham. I give to them my special mercy. What is that special mercy? Agyana jam tamaha. Because of the ignorance, the darkness which has been produced, tamaha, nashyami atma bhavasto. Which has covered their heart, their consciousness, and which has covered their knowledge. Atma bhavasto. Jnana deepena bhas. With the torch of night, I dispel, I destroy this ignorance. Puppet. When Lord Chaitanya was in Banaras, promulgating the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thousands of people were following him. Prakashananda Saraswati, very influential learned scholar in Banaras at that time, derided Chaitanya Mahaprabhu being a sentimentalist. Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in the darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive. Actually, that is not the fact. There are very, very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion. But even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literatures or of his spiritual master, please mark this point. This particular line which is going to come next. If he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. So the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. You might have seen some devotees' parents, 60-year-old, 70-year-old, and they come to Krishna consciousness, and some of them could be from the village background, and now they're old, so they cannot read much, and maybe they're from Marathi, Telugu background, so they can't hear proper lectures also, maybe they're spiritual master lecture also, but they perform devotional service with a lot of sincerity. Yes? So because I'm not able to read or hear doesn't again limits the chances of success. But if you're sincere, so Prabhupada says in the preface of Nectar Instruction, attitude is what counts. And what is sincerity? There's nothing but attitude. How we perform devotional life. That's the point here. The Mayavadi philosopher think that without discriminating, one cannot have pure knowledge. For them, this answer is given by the Lord. Those who are engaged in pure devotional service, even though they be without sufficient education, even without sufficient knowledge of the Vedic principles, are still helped by the Supreme God, as stated in this verse. The Lord tells Arjuna that basically there is no possibility of understanding the Supreme Truth simply by speculating. Why? Because the Lord is so great, it is not possible to understand Him or to achieve Him simply by making a mental effort. So how do we do so? The last paragraph. Somebody would like to read? Madan Sundar, go ahead and read the last paragraph of the puppet.
Due to the contamination of material association through many, many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism. But when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, the dust quickly clears and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal, Vishnu, can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. By studying Bhagavad Gita, one can become a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors.
And now, how did Arjuna react it? Arjuna Vacha, these are very important verses, particularly 12 to 16 verse. Some very important point. How did Arjuna react it? He said, very famous verse, Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavam Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahostvam Rishya Sarve Devashe Naradastata Asito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bhavishime. So Arjuna said, Param Brahma, you are the Supreme Personality Godhead. Param Dhamma, you are the ultimate abode. Pavitram, you are the purest. Param, Supreme, Bhavan, Purusham, the Purusha. Shashvatam, Divyam, transcendental, eternal. Adi Devam, Adi, the beginning or beginningless, the original. Ajam, the unborn. Vibhum, Vibhu means the greatest. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says, Krishna says, hey, wait a second. I thought I'm your friend. I'm like you. Why are you saying I'm all this? Then Arjuna said, my dear Lord, I am not the only one who's saying this. Ahustvam rishaya sarve. This truth about you is also declared by Devashe Naradas Tatha Asito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. And I have personally heard this truth about you from their mouth also. Puppet. Third line. Arjuna, after hearing the essential 4 verses of Bhagavad Gita in this chapter, became completely free from all doubts and he accepted Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead. Few lines below in the puppet, Prabhu says, now by Krishna's grace, Arjuna is accepting him as a supreme truth. In concordance with the Vedic injunction, it is not that because Krishna is Arjuna's intimate friend, Arjuna is flattering him. Whatever Arjuna says in these 2 verses is confirmed by Vedic truth. And then Prabhupada quotes Kena Upanishad Mundaka Upanishad like that. The last paragraph. But the Leela Nandini, please read the last paragraph of this verse.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat.
Yes.
Here Arjuna expresses himself through the grace of Krishna. If we want to understand Bhagavad Gita, we should accept the statements in these two verses. This is called the Parampara system, acceptance of the disciplic succession. Unless one is in the disciplic succession, he cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. It is not possible by so-called academic education. Unfortunately, those proud of their academic education, despite so much evidence in Vedic literatures, stick to their obstinate conviction that Krishna is an ordinary person. Hare Krishna.
Why Prabhupada is writing that? Because in text number 14, Arjuna says something very interesting. He says, Krishna, I accept you with full faith, not half-hand logic. Which means what the scholarly commentators do, they pick up things which they understand and they reject things which they don't understand. But Krishna says here, Arjuna says, no, I accept everything that you say. So text number 14. Sarvameta dhritam manye yanma vadasi keshava nahite bhagavan vyaktim vidu devana danava. Translation. O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the demigods nor the demons, O Lord, can understand your personality. We often come across people who have faith in certain aspect of Bhagavad Gita, but they reject certain other aspect of Bhagavad Gita. No, but here, no. Let's take a look at the purport. Where is Mother Leela? You're around? Yes, go ahead. Read the purport.
Hare Krishna, Vaji. Arjuna herein confirms that persons of faithless and demonic nature cannot understand Krishna. He is not known even by the demigods. So what to speak of the so-called scholars of this modern world? By the grace of Supreme Lord, Arjuna has understood that the supreme truth is Krishna and that he is the perfect one. One should therefore follow the path of Arjuna. He received the authority of Bhagavad Gita. As described in the 4th chapter, the Parampara system of disciplic succession for the understanding of Bhagavad Gita was lost. And therefore, Krishna re-established the disciplic succession with Arjuna because he considered Arjuna his intimate friend and a great devotee. Therefore, as stated in our introduction to Gita Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita should be understood in the Parampara system. When the Parampara system was lost, Arjuna was selected to rejuvenate it. The acceptance by Arjuna of all that Krishna says should be emulated. Then we can understand the essence of Bhagavad Gita. And then only can we understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
So what was the realization of Arjuna? Text number 15, Krishna speaks about it, the realization. And Arjuna says, Swayam evatmanatmanam Vethatvam Purushottama. You alone by your own potency know you as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhuta Bhavana Bhutesha. Bhuta Bhavana. Origin of everything. Bhutesha. Isha means Ishwar, the Lord. Bhuta means living entity. Ishwar means the Lord of everything. Deva Deva Jagatpate, the Lord of all gods. Jagatpate, or Lord of the entire universe. The realization of Arjuna is, you are the Supreme Personality Godhead. You alone know yourself by your internal potency, your Supreme Person, origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe. Okay. Purport. Anyone would like to read purport? Please raise your hands and you can read it out. I'll just call out the name. Somebody's interested. Okay, Mother Satya.
The Supreme Lord Krishna can be known by persons who are in a relationship with him through the discharge of devotional service like Arjuna and his followers. Persons of demoniac or atheistic mentality cannot know Krishna. Mental speculation that leads one away from the Supreme Lord is a serious sin, and one who does not know Krishna should not try to comment on Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the statement of Krishna, and since it is the science of Krishna, it should be understood from Krishna as Arjuna understood it. It should not be received from atheistic persons.
All right. So how do we understand? We understand through parampara. That's the focus of Prabhupada purport. Now we go to the next paragraph. Prabhupada talks about, this Bhuta Bhavana, Bhutesha and all that. Mother Satya, if you see in the middle of the purport of the next paragraph, sometimes the impersonalists accept Krishna as Bhagavan, or they accept his authority. I hope you got it. Or as you can see up on the screen here, it's highlighted.
Sorry.
Yeah, start reading.
Sometimes the impersonalists accept Krishna as Bhagavan or they accept his authority. Yet many liberated persons cannot understand Krishna as Purushottama, the Supreme Person. Therefore, Arjuna addresses him as Purushottama. Yet one still may not understand that Krishna is the father of all living entities. Therefore, Arjuna addresses him as Bhuta Bhavana. And if one comes to know him as the father of all the living entities, still one may not know him as the supreme controller. Therefore, he is addressed here as Bhutesha, the supreme controller of everyone. And even if one knows Krishna as the supreme controller of all living entities, still one may not know that he is the origin of all the demigods. Therefore, he is addressed herein as Deva Deva, the worshipful god of all demigods. And even if one knows him as the worshipful god of all demigods, one may not know that he is the supreme proprietor of everything. Therefore, he is addressed as Jagatpati. Thus, the truth about Krishna is established in this verse by the realization of Arjuna, and we should follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna as he is. Thank you.
All right. So now what do you think? Bhagavad Gita should end, isn't it? Krishna is a supreme personality. Oops, I'm audible, right? Yeah. Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead. So, my dear Lord, you tell me what I'm supposed to do, and I'll do that. I'll execute it. But that doesn't happen. What happens? Now, text number 16, there is something interesting happens. There's a little change of track. Up to 15th verse, Arjuna said, I accept you, you are the supreme personality, etc., etc. Now, in text number 16, Arjuna begins to show symptoms of ruchi. Ruchi, asakti, all that, the 9 stages. Ado shaddata sadhu sangha bhajana kriyanartha nivrati nishta ruchi asakti bhava prema, like that. He begins to show the symptoms of ruchi. What is ruchi? Eagerness to know more about Krishna, eagerness to hear about Krishna. And that is what something happens in text number 16. Vaktamarhasi asheshena divyahi atma vibhutaya yave vibhutibhir lokan imam swam vyapratishtasi. And he says, please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you pervade all these worlds. For God's sake, you're standing on a battlefield. Can't you have this discussion in the evening when the day for battle ends? My dear Arjuna, what's a hurry? How many of you say this is a good point? Yudhishthira should go and interrupt. Arey Baba, ho gaya tumhara chacha. Why don't you end Bhagavad Gita class? Now start our business. Raat hogi na? Raat ko sunna. No, nothing doing. I want now only. And Arjuna seems to be has forgotten about that. He's standing on the battlefield. How many of you think, what is this question here? I mean, his question began with, what should I do? And what question is asking? Please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you pervade all this world. This sounds like Parishit Maharaj asking Sukdev Goswami. He has nothing else to do. Anyways, he's winding up his business. So no problem, you tell me. I have nothing else to do. You're standing at the battlefield. How can you? So, here Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says, he has developed ruchi. In other words, he's a pure devotee, but it's just a way to express. The point is, he has forgotten time, place, circumstances. He is so absorbed now, he wants to hear more about Krishna. To have this kind of inquiry on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the war has begun, is really something which is really transcendental. Purport. Okay. Who would like to read? Nitai Prabhu, not sure if you're there. Oh, you're there. Okay, go ahead. Read out. Text number 16, purport.
In this verse, it appears that the Arjuna is already satisfied with his understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. By Krishna's grace, Arjuna has personal experience, intelligence, and knowledge, and whatever else a person may have. And through all these agencies, he has understood Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For him, there is no doubt, yet he is asking Krishna to explain him all-pervading nature. People in general, and the impersonalist in particular, concern themselves mainly with the all-pervading nature of the Supreme. So Arjuna is asking Krishna how he exists in his all-pervading aspects through his different energies. One should know that this is being asked by Arjuna on behalf of the common people.
So Srila Prabhupada's take, Arjuna is not asking for himself, his all doubts are resolved. Arjuna is asking for the sake of us, future generations. Text number 17. Katham vidyamaham yogim swam sada parichintayan keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintyasi bhagavan maya. My dear Lord, how can I always remember you? O Krishna, O Supreme Mystic, how shall I constantly think of you? And how shall I know you? In what various forms are you to be remembered, O Supreme Personality of Godhead? Puppet. Who would like to read? All right, Shashwat Prabhu, go ahead.
Purport. As it is stated in previous chapter, the Supreme Personality of God is covered by his Yoga Maya. Only surrendered souls and devotees can see him. Now Arjuna is convinced that his friend Krishna is the Supreme Godhead, but he wants to know the general process by which the all-pervading Lord can be understood by the common man. Common men, including the demons and atheists, cannot know Krishna because he is guarded by his Yogmaya energy. Again, these questions are asked by Arjuna for their benefit. The superior devotee is concerned not only for his own understanding, but for the understanding of all mankind. So Arjuna, out of his mercy, because he is a Vaishnava, a devotee, is opening for the common man the understanding of all pervasiveness of the Supreme Lord. He addresses Krishna specifically as Yogin because Krishna is the master of Yogamaya energy, by which he is covered and uncovered to the common man. The common man who has no love for Krishna cannot always think of Krishna. Therefore, he has to think materially. Arjuna is considering the mode of thinking of materialistic person of this world. The word kesu, kesu cha bhaveshu refer to material nature, and the word bhava means physical things, because materialists cannot understand Krishna spiritually. They are advised to concentrate the mind on the physical thing and try to see how Krishna is manifested by physical representations.
And the last verse for today, text number 18. Arjuna undergoes a transformation of heart. Vistrinatmano yogam vibhutim cha janardana bhuya kathaya triptirhi shanvato nasti me amratam. O Janardana, again please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulences. I am never triptirhi bhuya kathaya. Bhuya means again. Kathaya triptirhi, not satisfied. Tripti, satisfaction. I am never satisfied or satiated in hearing about you. For the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words. Mother Taruni Gopika, you want to read last paper for today?
Prabhu.
That was.
Purport. A similar statement was made to Sutta Goswami by the rishis of Naimisharanya, headed by Shaunaka. That statement is, should I read the verse?
Yes, sure, go ahead.
Vayam tu na vitrapayama uttama shloka vikrame yatra navatam rasa jnanamam swadu pade pade. One can never be satiated even though one continuously hears the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, who is glorified by excellent prayers. Those who have entered into a transcendental relationship with Krishna
Relish at every step the descriptions of the pastimes of the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.19. Thus, Arjuna is interested in hearing about Krishna and specifically how he remains as the all pervading Supreme Lord. Now, as far as Amritam, nectar, is concerned, any narration or statement concerning Krishna is just like nectar, and this nectar can be perceived by practical experience. Modern stories, fiction, and histories are different from the transcendental pastimes of the Lord in that one will tire of hearing mundane stories, but one never tires of hearing about Krishna. It is for this reason only that the history of the whole universe is replete with references to the pastimes of the incarnations of Godhead. The Puranas are histories of bygone ages that relate the pastimes of the various incarnations of the Lord. In this way, the reading matter remains forever fresh despite repeated readings.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So with that, we come to the conclusion of our today's discussion. 19th verse onwards, now Lord Shri Krishna would begin to describe his opulences by actually drawing analogies which Arjuna can relate to. Unfortunately, we will not be able to relate to those analogies because many of these things we have not seen or heard. So in that way, but these analogies were drawn for Arjuna to relate to in terms of his opulences. And like that, Lord Shri Krishna will speak about his opulences, and while concluding this particular discussion, at the end, Krishna will say, what is the use of this? What I have just spoken is drop of the ocean, or figment of my opulences. Arjuna, know for sure I'm pervading everything everywhere. And that inspired Arjuna, oh, my dear Lord, hearing is fantastic, but seeing is all incredible. Can you please show me that mystical form? And that's how the next chapter, chapter number 11th, universal form begins. That has some very, very important discussions. Apart from that, all that, the ferocious form of universal, the ferocious universal form that Arjuna saw and everything, but some very important philosophical points. One, that chapter once again proves Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because from Krishna manifested the universal form, and from Krishna manifested Narayan. And once again, that chapter concludes with, how can we know Krishna? Krishna says, Sudu Darsham. The two-handed form, Arjuna, what you're seeing is rarest of all. And then Arjuna pondered, mighty Lord, then how can devotees see you? And the 44th and 45th verse, Krishna says, Bhaktya Mam Vijanati, only through devotional service. So the reason I made this point here now is that if you look back at literally at every chapter, Krishna is emphasizing bhakti. You can know me only by bhakti. What we discussed today in the 10th chapter also is about Name Surgana, that particular verse 10.2. Just skip my Name Vidhu Surgana Prabhavam Na Mahashyaha. The best of the sages, the demigods cannot know me. So how can we know you? Only by your causeless mercy. Tesham Satayuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yoganam, like that. Tesham Evanukam Patham. So Bhagavad Gita, every chapter speaks about bhakti, engage in bhakti, and being pleased by our efforts. Lord Shri Krishna's mercy will reveal. The subject matter of Krishna or the spiritual world is of revelation, not of discovery. When it comes to discovery, then it depends on our effort. But when it is a revelation, it depends on grace. So how do we receive this grace? So today's discussion, we begin with Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prachati. So we're talking about bhakti is simple. That is the very first thing Krishna highlights there. But Prabhupada says it is simple, but we simply miss out the point. So what is bhakti? Bhakti is meant to please Krishna. And many of you said, we please Krishna, we do this, we do that. But then we raised a point. None of us are actually serving Krishna. We are serving our spiritual master. Through that, we are serving Krishna. So there we brought about a point. Loyalty to Guru Parampara is what is actually missing. Loyalty, and the loyalty or integrity or truthfulness. Excuse me, my WhatsApp starting. 1 second, please. What was I saying? So how do we get the sense of pleasing Krishna? That begins with pleasing Guru and Vaishnavas. How can we please Guru and Vaishnavas? When we begin to follow their instructions, when we begin to live our life according to their wish, according to their desire. And this subject matter will come back again in 11th chapter. Nimitta matram bhava sabyasachi, become an instrument of my grace. So how can we follow the instruction? We can only follow the instruction when we are loyal, when we are followers. And that can only happen when, we have kind of that sense of attachment, and when we know that this is my only shelter. But now, because we are living in a kind of, I'm pretty sure all of you would have had this question in mind, would have come across these questions, that loyalty becomes a challenging thing actually in today's time. We hear from different sources, from outside, inside, and whatnot. So that leads to an issue. Anyways, we highlighted that point in the beginning. So that's the sum and substance of this discussion, what is happening here. So with that, I'll kind of pause here. I lost a chain of my thought. I got distracted with the call. Anyways, we'll pause here. If in case anyone has concluding comments and questions, I feel proud to finish 2 minutes before time. I've heard we get good credits if we finish before time as a teacher. Any quick thoughts or comments or anything? Yes, Mother Madani?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavats.
Prabhuji, 9th chapter, text 32, 33, 34, discussion
Yes.
is not yet complete now.
Oh, we didn't discuss that.
Mm-mm.
Oh, really?
No.
9, you're saying 9th chapter, 32, 33rd verse, we didn't talk about it, huh?
No, it is left for this class. Never was.
Mami partha vipashritya yepishu papayoni astriyo veshya tata shuddha tepi yanti paramgatim. I didn't touch it, or I didn't just briefly summarized it?
No, we haven't gone through it.
You're telling me now. You should have told me when I started the discussion, 10th chapter. I thought we did that. Oh, Garanga. So I am not finishing in time. Am I allowed to take 10 minutes? I just briefly speak on this. So those who are tired, have had enough of me, they're welcome to leave. I'll not take a snapshot of your absentee here. So you don't have to be conscious of your attendance that way. All right. Okay, 9th chapter, verse number 32, debatable, controversial verse. Many times people raise this. I often come across from certain feminists raising this question. Hey, this is against feminism, women's right, etc., etc. Anyways, so this is what is happening in the sequence that where Krishna is saying, describing the glories of bhakti. Prior to this, Krishna said, even if somebody is Suduracharo, he also becomes firmly established in bhakti again. He becomes Mahatma again if he is firmly situated, conviction, determination in his bhakti. And then Krishna said, Arjuna, not only this, even those who are of lower consciousness, let me put it that way, because we are in bodily consciousness, so we tend to see it from bodily platform. But those who are in lower consciousness, even they can accept bhakti and make progress. Because for any path, Ashtanga Yoga, Jnana Yoga, there are various material qualifications required to be able to practice that path of yoga. For Bhakti Yoga, Krishna says nothing is needed. An example is given in text number 32. So here, Krishna says, Yepishu Papa Yoneha. Here, Papa Yona, Yoni is sinful. In other words, it means those who cannot take to God realization easily. That is what the meaning of it. Sinful. Why? Because those who cannot take God realization, they'll be busy in mundane affairs. Okay, now comes Triyo Vaishya Tata Shudra. So when the discussion of Triyo Vaishya Tata Shudras comes, of course it may not be in any of your mind, but if in case you're dealing with the outside audience, sometimes people get stuck only on the word Triyo. They don't see the other three words, Vaishya and Shudra, other two words. Now Vaishya and Shudras are not only Stri, they're men also. So this verse is not talking about women, first of all. This verse is talking about both women and men. Just want to make a point. I'm speaking from the perspective, in case you have to address to a new audience who have got stuck with this. Somebody may challenge you with that. So first of all, Krishna is not speaking only about female. Krishna is also speaking about men. Bring them on an equal platform. Man and woman both are discussed. Let's begin with talking about the men first. Then we'll talk about women here. Vaishyas. Who are Vaishyas? Wherever they look, they only look at, wherever they look, they only see, how can I make money? That is what Vaishya means. So when you are too much absorbed in minting money, meaning making money means exploitation, cheating, lying is a part of it. At that time, to think about Krishna is not possible. For example, stock market, stock exchange, those who are into there, there's too much trouble in their minds. As the stock market goes up and down, similarly, the mind goes up and down. Like this, that is what the life. So that's what Vaishya. Shudras, why Shudras here? Shudras are one, if they are not protected, by nature, they're independent. By nature, there are chances of them of taking to the sinful life. They are more, you can say, they are more absorbed in bodily consciousness of life. Material life, material well-being is the goal of their existence. Again, God realization is very difficult for them. So therefore, Krishna says Vaishya Shudra. Krishna doesn't mention Brahmanas and Kshatriyas here. First reason, Brahmanas, according to Varnashram system, are the among the four Varnas is the highest order. Why? Because they're learned, they're God conscious, they live a pure life. Oh, what about Kshatriya? By the way, Krishna is speaking to Bhagavad Gita to whom? To Brahmana or Kshatriya? Rajrishi. Kshatriyas are also trained in Vedic knowledge. They're administrators. Vaishyas are taxed. They have to give a taxable income. They have to give tax to the Kshatriyas and they protect them. So Brahmanas and Kshatriyas are not mentioned here. So it's about Vaishya and Shudra. It actually indicating to their consciousness, not their gender. Now let's talk about women as a class. Let me ask this question. What is the greatest strength of mother? Let's not call woman, let's call mother. It changes our perception. What is the greatest strength of mother? Any quick thoughts? You can write it, you can speak up. Let me just unmute. Anyone can speak up. What is the greatest strength of woman or mother? Emotions, right? Her emotional, emotional quotient. What is the greatest weakness? Let me ask this. What is the greatest weakness? Yeah, go ahead. Whoever has to speak, just Madanjana, speak up.
Physical weakness.
Huh?
Physical strength.
Physical
Attachment.
strength. No. I would not agree. I was landed on Chicago airport. Chicago, I was flying from Columbus. Chicago was a very small airline. And what the people did, the airport staff, what they did, they took out our luggage right there, not on the belt. कहते हैं ना बस का डिग्गी खोलते हैं वहीं लगेज निकाल देते हैं. So they opened the plane and they put out the luggage. But they opened it, but they took out the luggage, and it was taking a time for airport staff to come. Some of us men were there when the elderly lady was there. She was waiting, and she got mad. She said, "What you boys are doing? She went all alone, 65 years old, and she started pulling all the luggage. To say the women are physically less strong, no, not necessarily. I'm talking in today's day. Don't go back to Dwapar Yuga, you say like this. If Draupadi had to slap Duryodhan, I don't think so. He would have woken up next morning. So not like that necessarily. Okay, what else? What do you think? What is the greatest weakness of a woman?
Attachment, especially
Attachments,
towards
okay.
children.
Okay, what is the greatest weakness? Once again. Hey, by the way, am I asking a little controversial question? Prabhu, no weakness, only strength. Oh, dare you ask this question? I mean, I can talk about the greatest weakness of man also, but we are not discussing about man here. So, Mother Varsana Keshori Devi Dasi, Mother Varsana writes, yes, the greatest strength is emotional quotient. The greatest weakness is also EQ. That's the whole thing. Now let's talk about about her strength thing. The whole social structure which Krishna has created, the natural order is such: man goes out and deal with the ugly world because he has a strong rational side, so he can discriminate and deal with it and not get attached and affected. Whereas for the woman, because they're emotionally very strong, they're made. That's the system. That's the design, so that they can stay back at home and take care of the kids. How much love and affection the mother can give, father can never give. वो थोड़ी देर खेलेगा बोला जाना यार अपना रास्ता देखना क्यों दुखी कर रहे हैं? Why are you troubling me? Give me a break. I have pampered you enough. I can't spend much time. But mother will never do it. Mother can spend hours and hours after with the kid. Don't see it in today's light. I don't know how motherhood today is happening. I'm speaking about how we were raised, a previous generation like that. Now, same thing becomes the greatest obstacle. Because of her strong emotional side, her rational side is often weaker. To give you an example, you would have seen, let's talk about the men, being a higher rational side. This is a natural order. I'm not talking about today's environment. Who is man and woman is very debatable itself. A female have a masculine side, stronger masculine side, and oftentimes men has a strong feminine side, psychologically, if you see it. Now, in general, the natural order says the man is somebody who's rational, who is by nature is little detached. An example of detachment is what happens a week before he doesn't remember much. And let's say the wife shouted, "You always ask for hot chapati. I'm not going to give you. Go and make for yourself." He may get a little upset that time, but he's not going to keep a grudge for a week like this. Now, okay, take a case of a mother. Something happens. 5 साल पहले तुमने ये कहा था मुझे, 10 साल पहले की तुम्हें बताओ क्या? और वो शादी के दिन तुमने नकली फूल माला डाली थी मुझे. वो बोलेगा, अरे यार ये कहां से क्या क्या कौन से इतिहास खोद रहे हो? इस जन्म के पिछले जन्म क्या? इसी जन्म के सुनो, पिछले जन्म की कहानी शुरू करोगे तो भाग जाओगे. Am I correct? Is that a fact or no? Please don't take it as an offense. Don't intend to offend any Mataji here. I'm your child, like a baby. But this is what my understanding of psychology as my subject. That's what I have understood like this. So that becomes their weaker side because of the strong emotional side, they often tend to become attached materially. And the rational side goes down, because of which you're getting into a trouble. Okay. Hey, Haribola, I offer my full respects and obeisance to everyone, including Prabhu and Mataji. I don't know who I'm getting in trouble with now. So anyways, so that is because of the strong emotional side. They are more materially attached. And that becomes, because of which for them to focus, it becomes difficult. It does not mean they don't have an IQ, they score well and all that. It's not about material understanding. It's all about spiritual connection. For them to get detached in general is very difficult. But this greater strength of that being their emotional becomes a great asset in Krishna consciousness, because they can very easily get attached to Guru and Krishna. Therefore, you see in programs, you have more ladies. You see them taking up very seriously. So it's about how they are guided. So what Krishna is making a point is making a very generic statement about the natural order, when people were according to their consciousness, according to their varna. For them, it is mentioned like that. I hope this is clear. Text number 33, Krishna says, if about them, what about higher birth? Brahmana and Kshatriya. They would, of course, will take to Krishna consciousness. And finally, verse number 34, Krishna says, Man mana bhava madbhakta madhyajima namaskuru. This is the essence of all essence. What are we supposed to do? We are supposed to serve Krishna. We are supposed to worship Krishna. So this verse can only be understood when you have read before. If somebody opens this verse and says, see how egoistic is he? He's asking to worship him. Why not worship Vishnu? Why not worship Shiv? Why not worship Varma? Hey, wait a second. First, you understand the relationship between Krishna and his devotees, and Krishna is speaking to devotee, not to non-devotees. This is being spoken to Arjuna, and this is spoken to a devotee. This is a verse for a devotee. He is not forcing you to worship him. You do whatever you want to do it. If he wanted you to worship, Krishna could have done it, but he has given you free will. But this set of verses are being spoken for devotees. What is an evidence is spoken for devotees? 9.1 is an evidence where Krishna says, I'm about to tell you the most confidential knowledge, Arjuna. To whom is he telling the most confidential knowledge? To his dear friend and disciple Arjuna, which is meant for him and which is meant for devotees. Therefore, Prabhupada writes in the introduction, Bhagavad Gita is meant for devotees. And this is the most confidential knowledge, text number 34. And how do we engage our mind? That's how chapter 10 begin with. Okay? Hare Krishna. That was a quick summary of these last 3 verses. Any questions or comments now? Yes, welcome, Prabhu.
There are 2 things I just wanted to, one to add and one to get clarification. Now, regarding this text 9.32 or 9.3, that Striyo Vaishyas Pudrastvata.
Yeah.
Prabhupada has given a clarification on it. Prabhupada, so some ladies went and some Matajis asked Prabhu, they asked Prabhupada, how can you say this? That we are less intelligent or anything like that. So he said, as long as you're in bodily consciousness, you are less intelligent. If you're not in bodily consciousness, then this shloka doesn't apply. This one.
Correct.
So that's one thing. Secondly, my experience, I'm just telling this objection is raised only by the higher caste Matajis. What the lower caste Matajis attend to the program.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay.
This problem is you never face when you are giving a class to a different section. But if you have got a class where you have got these Brahmin ladies or Kshatriya ladies or forward caste ladies.
Oh, that way. Okay.
And also these educated people, then only they raise these objections. Otherwise,
yeah, correct.
Otherwise, the majority of them accept it, because they see in that families also, they see.
I would call it as like simple-hearted people will accept it rather than dividing. There are many people who are not educated also will, start questioning this sometimes.
Simple-hearted. Okay.
Yeah.
Good, Mother Prabhu. Yes.
Good point. Yes. So, so that is one. That's my experience. So I thought I will just share this.
Correct.
Only educated who are working and all.
And Prabhupada on this actually also said that actually you are a man or woman, doesn't matter. Everyone is born Shudra.
Yeah.
So Shudra, focus on Shudra here. Therefore I began with that verse is not speaking about woman, is also speaking about men.
Yeah.
But those who are into that feministic idea, they forget to look at the man as being discussed. Because man is not mentioned now. They don't understand Vaishya Shudra means what.
Yeah. So, and also again, those Matajis who are attending from beginning Bhagavad Gita classes, when it comes to 9th and 10th and all, they accept it. They don't raise much of a objection. But those who join in between, and suddenly they come, sometimes. I mean, I'm just talking from my experience.
Correct.
Agree. This is the case with everybody, but I'm only telling what I have faced in this situation. That's one.
Correct.
That's one thing. Secondly, on the loyalty getting divided nowadays, what you said, because of the YouTube and too many lectures coming from many impressive speakers. Now, this is a problem you find very common, because even after hearing these lectures, I've seen a few devotees who want to hear lectures from a particular Prabhu or a particular Maharaj only. And sometimes they also tend to ignore the lectures given by their own spiritual master. This is another issue also.
Correct.
Of late, I'm seeing that, Now, one of the solutions, I was hearing Radheshyam Prabhu's lecture. And in that lecture, he was saying that we should make it a habit to hear Prabhupada's lecture and one's own Guru's lecture at least once a week. And I think I found that very much appealing to me, what he said. I said, yes, this is what sounds correct to me also. So, I thought that part I will share here.
Correct. All right. Anything else, Prabhuji?
Nothing else. Thank you.
Okay. Srinivas Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, in 15th verse, I think by then, 10th chapter, by then Arjuna already understood that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So why he has to use Deva Jagatpate, like God of gods? So that means he also knows that there are other gods?
Yeah, the other gods, no? Gods are there. Shiva is there. Brahma is there. They're existing, right?
Like Devatas, right? They're not God is only Krishna. We read like that.
No, Deva Jagatpate. He's a god of all gods. See what is happening here now. He's in an ecstatic state, which you see in the next verse. Please continue speaking. I want to hear more and more. Therefore, I said, you're on the battlefield, for God's sake. Why don't you go back at home and then do discussion? You're not come out for this. Is not your Bhagavatam class time. You're saying, speaker, go on. You're on the battlefield. But he's an ecstatic emotion. And there is a way of expressing, he's using an adjective to glorify Krishna. You're the Deva Jagatpate. You're the controller, master of everything. Like that. You can say as a poetic expression to glorify the Lord.
but we should understand by then like God is only Krishna and the others are all demigods. Understanding?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your question here is. I mean, devtas are there, no?
Okay.
Now, if you see Prabhupada's purpose only, Prabhupada will say Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva. This is right or wrong? What is that? Prabhupada right, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma. Is that you can say, Arey, you should write demigod Brahma, demigod Shiva? Why do you write Lord? You get it? No, so it's not like that. Don't get caught up with the words. So Krishna is Krishna. Prabhupada generally will say Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada brought that word God and demigod just to because make a distinction in our mindset. That Shiva and Brahma are a little subordinate to Krishna. But in Sanskrit, there is nothing like that. In Sanskrit is called Devata. And Krishna is called as Bhagavan. But same Bhagavan is used for word Narada Muni also in Srimad Bhagavatam. Like that. So don't get into the words that way. Why it is like this, why it's not. Fact is a fact. Like this. If something like that, then we can say if Krishna is God, then how can Arjuna be sitting on the chariot? Arjuna should drive. How dare he? Right? Like that. Fine. Madanjana, conclude with the last point here. Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. I just want to share something about this verse 9.32, and I want to confess also something. Actually, I just
Voice is not very clear to me, Madanjana.
Voice is not clear to me.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, is it okay now?
Yes.
Okay, Prabhuji. I said that I just want to share something, my experience, and I want to confess also something. During this COVID time when COVID started, I was not in Krishna consciousness. So there was no professional binding also. We were free. I just came through this verse 9.32 and just it struck to me as Vaikuti Prabhuji said that Matajis who are educated, it is difficult for them to absorb this fact. And it happened with me. And I just thought, how can Krishna write this? He is God. Is it possible that he can discriminate between men and women? It is not possible. How has he given this class a different class in Shudras and Vaishyas? We are women. This is something different. This is a biological difference. This is not the Varna Ashrama difference. Why women are different? So it struck to me. And I see we are so ignorant. So I just laugh at me at times at what I was thinking that time. And Toshmi Prabhuji of Ahmednagar, Vaishnav Toshmi Prabhu, I contacted him. I told him, I said, ये भगवत गीता में क्या लिखा है? आप बताइए मुझे जरा. He tried to convince me, but I was not convinced. I just raised so many questions, so many. Finally, he said, you do one thing. See, you don't have anything else to do now. Why don't you read Bhagavad Gita? When you read it, you reach to 9.32, then you ask me whatever you want to ask me. I said, okay. I took it as a challenge. And I did it. And gradually, I understood what it is actually.
Yeah, wonderful point.
9.32, it is the learning experience for all the females. We must pinpoint it and then we must go in the root of it, why it is written there. This is a fact, Prabhuji. There is a biological difference. We can't say there is no difference. We are ladies, we have our own competency. Men have their own competency. There is no fight for this. What I can do, my husband may not be able to do that. What he can do, I may not be. God has given us different skill sets.
Correct. But because of being bodily consciousness, we can only see biological differences.
I say, even at the lower level, on the bodily consciousness level also, we must take it gracefully. That we are different.
That is, now because it's all feministic movements are going around, that become way more and more difficult with that way. But point noted.
And
Thank you.
We understand Srila Prabhupada's version that we are not body, we are soul. When we focus on that, then everything is at the same platform.
Correct. That makes it.
Everything is at the same platform.
Thank you,
Hare
thank you,
Krishna,
thank
Prabhuji.
you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. It's 3:22. Rishikesh Prabhu, getting too late. Please go ahead. Can you unmute yourself? Let's make it quick. Not audible, Prabhu. Unmute. Unmute, sorry.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Krishna, for the late, but I was listening to the previous conversation where the point of, the other demigods was coming. So I think we understand that it's not possible to comprehend the greatness of Krishna, and all the opulences. And he also says, that he's like, of all the Rudras, I am the Lord Shiva. So, what is the need to differentiate? When we know that he's the super soul and he's everywhere, then is it really necessary, to discuss that who is big or who is, like that, who is the greatest? When we know that he's like everywhere, and
Okay.
Lord Krishna himself said that of all the Rudras, I'm Lord Shiva.
Correct. So what's the point?
So my point is that so this is the right understanding, right? We have to focus.
All right. So point is correct. Krishna is all in all, but is it necessary to make that distinction if that's what you're indicating towards to? Well, it's needed for those who are not aware of it. When we make a distinction, because there are so many Devta worshippers, to bring them to a Krishna platform, we need to tell them who is Devtas or Krishna. And we are not speaking that. Krishna himself speaks about it in the 7th chapter. He speaks about it in the 3rd chapter. So he speaks in the 9th chapter. He's himself speaking about that. Fine. All right. Thank you, everyone. We got a little extended. Excuse us for that. Next week we'll begin with the 10th chapter, remaining verses, and we'll also take to the 11th chapter. And if time permits, you can read these opulences. I'll be quick. I'll be brushing through this discussion. And we'll start with the 11th chapter also. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada.